Welcome to This Week in High School Sports. I'm Teresa Whipple with Steve Willits, and we are getting to the end of fall sports, aren't we?
We are. We're getting right down to it. Not a lot of teams left, and that's kind of the way it works. You go into these tournaments, you either advance or you go home for the year, and just a few left. We're going to talk about them.
That's right, we are. First, we're going to thank Red Onion Burgers in Mount Lake Terrace for their support and remind you that on November 18th,
correct,
we talked about this before, they are having a fundraiser at the Harley-Davidson place up there on Highway 99 near 188th Street, and it is for Shop with a Cop, which is basically a time when first responders in the area can take children who are in need of holiday gifts shopping for their families. And in the process, of course, that costs some money to buy the presents. And so Sean Richards at Red Onion Burgers does a fundraiser every year. And this is the 9th annual Shop with a Cop. But the fundraiser itself is on November 18th, as we mentioned. And if you want more information, we'll have the number for Red Onion Burgers up on the screen. You can give Sean a call and get tickets. They're $25 each. It's for a great cause.
Absolutely.
So let's get to football.
Yeah, the Edmonds-Woodway Warriors are our final team remaining. They picked up a nice win last weekend, 24-6 over Gig Harbor, and in doing so, they advance out of the Quad District playoffs and into the state tournament. Big deal because it's the first time in 6 years that Edmonds-Woodway has advanced that far. So they're into the round of 16. Riley Chappelle, a couple touchdowns in that game from the quarterback position. Really nice win, seeing that they had a few injuries too. So Edmonds-Woodway now with a big game coming up against Eastside Catholic, so we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, the #1 team in the state, right?
The #1 team ranked in the state, yeah.
Well,
tough task ahead.
Yeah, yes it is. Well, it's going to happen sometime anyway. All right, and so then what about soccer?
Girls soccer, we're sticking with Edmonds-Woodway. There's a theme here tonight.
Yes, there is.
The Edmonds-Woodway Warriors girls soccer team, a team that we talked about the boys football team not being to state in 6 years. Girls soccer team getting very acclimated to being in this tournament. I think this is the third time in 4 years that they've advanced to the quarterfinals, and they did so on Tuesday night with a 3-2 victory over Bonnie Lake. A game that was a little bit dicey down the stretch. They were up 3-0, 3-0 as we like to say in soccer. Bonnie Lake scoring 2 goals late to make it very interesting. Even had a chance to potentially tie it with about a minute or two left. Edmonds-Woodway holds on for the victory, so they are into the round of 8. They've got a game against Mercer Island coming up Saturday at 3 o'clock. One of the players on that team is Gabby Chappelle. We just mentioned her brother Riley, who's the football quarterback, a moment ago. Gabby, Riley, both in the playoffs, both competing this weekend. I sense a lead and a segue here. Why not bring them in together? We had them in for an interview. Here's the conversation we had with Riley and Gabby. Edmonds-Woodway High School, fortunate enough to have 2 teams in state this year during the fall sports season. And with us right now, a member of the football team as well as the girls soccer team. They also happen to be siblings. Riley Chappelle, the quarterback for the Edmonds-Woodway football team. Gabby Chappelle, outside midfielder for the soccer team. First of all, both of you, congratulations on making it to state this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of a big deal. Riley, I'll start with you. Nice win over Gig Harbor last week. 24-6 was the final. First time in 6 years that the Edmonds-Woodway football team has qualified for state. I've got to think that's a nice feather in the cap for you and the team.
It feels good. We knew we were good this year. Our scores and the way we played shows that. But definitely just getting that district win, moving on to state. You know, East Side's a big challenge, but just being here, we're happy about it.
Well, tell me about the game a little bit. 24-6 was the final. A lot of injuries. You guys kind of went into the playoffs banged up a bit. Were you nervous about that? Were you concerned about where the team might be at that point, or?
You know, the thing about our team is our defense is phenomenal. And so we on the offensive side know that all we have to do is just enough, right? So our defense isn't going to allow a bunch of points. We just need to score more than the defense allows. So, you know, missing Capascio, missing Aaron Richardson on the outside, that stuff all hurt. But we just need to find ways to get the ball in the end zone a few times, which we did.
And they did. As a matter of fact, 2 touchdowns on the ground for you as a quarterback. That's always impressive. And then we turn to Sister Gabby here. A little bit of a different season for Edmonds-Woodway in the sense that this is a team that a few years ago won a state championship, finished 3rd a couple of years ago. So you're used to finishing high up in the standings. You went into the district tournament 3rd. You finished 3rd in the regular season, yet then you shut everybody out and you won 3 straight games to become district champions. Take me through that run a little bit. Any surprises there, and how are you feeling about the team going into the districts?
Not really any surprises. Like, we came into every game knowing that we had to play to our potential, and we went out and did it. Some games weren't our best games, but we worked hard, and there's a lot of heart that goes into the game from everyone on the team. So looking forward, very excited, and I'm really proud of this team. And
Absolutely.
keep going.
And you made it into the round of 16, and then your first game, which was Tuesday night of this week, at home, Edmonds Stadium, Bonnie Lake. Interesting game. You jumped out to a 3-0 lead. It looked like it was over and everything was going to be real easy, and you were going to breeze right into the quarterfinals. Bonnie Lake scores 2 goals late with about 5 minutes to go. It looks like it's kind of coming right down to the wire, and they even made a run at late and almost put a 3rd goal in. Tell me about the mindset of the team at that point and how you were all feeling, and were you nervous?
I mean, yeah, a little bit. It was 3-0, and we were just having fun. We were getting some people in there who maybe haven't seen as much time as others, and so it was just a fun game to play in. And then number 16, Bonnie Lake, I think her name's Kaylee Coatney, super good player, definitely going places. Dribbled through everyone because she's super fast and quick, and then scored 1 goal, and we're like, okay, we'll recover. And then she had that second one, which was a laser beam, and we were all kind of like, let's just get the ball out of our half. And it's a little stressful.
And a little stressful that at the end the whistles blew and you moved on to the quarterfinals. So again, round of 16 for football, round of 8. You both have huge games coming up this weekend. Riley, you guys play on Friday night. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be traveling for this one, but not very far. Seattle Memorial Stadium, right down underneath the Space Needle. You number one, it's kind of a historic building there, and a lot of great football being played over the years. But the opponent, even greater maybe, Eastside Catholic, ranked number 1 in the state. Tell me a little bit about the Crusaders and what they look like on film.
They don't have a lot of weaknesses, right? Not a lot we can exploit. They're a good team. They played really well all year, haven't really had any problems, but I mean, as far as our defense goes, we do recognize that they're playing with a backup quarterback. And, however talented he is, he's still a backup, and he doesn't have that experience their starter has. And on the defensive side, we see some things we think we can exploit, and we just know that we got to drive the ball down. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. We got to drive the ball down, try to get a few scores, and have our defense hold on.
And I don't want to put you in too tough of a spot here, but I'm going to go ahead and mention this, and you don't have to respond even. But round of 16, you guys go undefeated in league play. You have a phenomenal year, and you get matched up with the number 1 ranked team in the state. It's got to be a little frustrating, and I certainly think you guys kind of got the raw end of that deal. Is it something you guys talk about, or what's Coach Gradwell tell you? Do you just have to block it out and go play football?
Well, I mean, 2 things. First, Gradwell says, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if our goal is a state championship, we'd run into a team like Eastside Catholic at some time, an O'Day, and a Kamiakin, a Ferndale, somebody like that. So, I mean, if you're going to play them, why not play them early when they're getting caught off guard, then play them in the semis or in the finals when they're ready for the game, right?
I like the attitude, so we'll see how that works out. So that game's on Friday night, and then Saturday, late afternoon, 3 p.m., Edmonds-Woodway soccer versus Mercer Island. You get another home game too, Gabby. That's got to be kind of nice. What do we know about Mercer Island right now?
Mercer Island's a good team. Haven't seen them this season. Don't know who really has seen them this season, but they're definitely going to be good, and it's going to be a challenging game. It's going to be pretty equal.
Does home field advantage mean much in soccer during the playoffs? What does it mean to have another game at Edmonds Stadium?
It's super exciting. One, we're not traveling, so we don't have to go onto a bus, and that definitely impacts the game a lot, like just your mindset and mentality going in. And it's also really nice to have like all your parents there and everyone supporting you. And so
I like when you said you don't have to go on a bus. Riley immediately laughed. I guess the nice thing for you guys, though, Eastside Catholic, kind of a neutral site for you guys, so maybe it's not really home field advantage for them necessarily, right?
Yeah, they got to travel too, right? I mean, I don't know how far the drive is from Sammamish to Seattle, but they don't get to play with their school's shadow, being cast over the field, and I hate playing at Eastside.
Yeah.
I'm really happy we got Seattle Memorial. I've never played there. Heard it's a cool place. I'll see it Friday, but glad we're not playing at Eastside.
And for anybody who's never watched a high school football game at Memorial Stadium in Seattle, you have to go see it at least once and experience it underneath the Space Needle. Really a great way to watch a football game. We're going to do something a little bit different with you two real quick here, too. Normally when we have 2 teammates in here, I have them give me a scouting report about the other one and tell me what their strengths are. I know that the 2 of you are very supportive of each other and you go to each other's games, and obviously you've been watching each other since you were, for probably as long as you can remember. I want to hear you talk about the other one as an athlete and what you respect about their games and what you appreciate when you watch them. Why don't we start with you on this one, Gabby? Tell me a little bit about the quarterback for Edmonds-Woodway over here, and what do you see when you watch Riley Chappelle playing quarterback?
Well, I love watching him play. I've been at every single game. And whenever he completes a pass, it's always super exciting, and the student section goes crazy. But then it's also really exciting to see him run the ball in too. Like at the Gig Harbor game, that was super exciting, and everyone was on their feet for that. And I'm just really proud of him and excited to see a play, maybe score a couple more touchdowns.
Well, that's nice.
Nice answer. There's a sibling appreciation right there. Now, why don't you reciprocate? Tell me a little bit about Gabby, the soccer player.
I've been watching Gabby play soccer for as long as I can remember. Northwest Nationals, and then the Seattle Surf, and now this whole high school thing. I love watching her play, even if I don't always want to go to the games, right? Sometimes it's parents' choice if I go or not. But, she plays hard. She's a leader on the field, and she's generally pretty quiet. So hearing her yell on the field is something new. But she plays hard. She's a leader. She sets lead by example. It's fun watching her.
So are you saying that the Gabby you experience at home is not necessarily the same as on the soccer field?
Gabby I experience at home is loud. The Gabby in school is quiet, but the Gabby on the field, which, is a school setting, is loud.
Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah.
Hey, tell me a little bit about what your teams need to do to get to the next level at this point. I know, again, a very stiff competition coming up, going to be really tough games. Gabby, and maybe we can even kind of take that question and look at it from a different angle too. As far as maybe looking at some of the turmoil that maybe every team has it at some point during the season, and your team had a stretch of games, I think it was in late September, where you didn't score a goal. Fortunately, neither did the other team in 3 of those 4 games, so there was 3 0-0 draws. But what does this team need to do if they want to get to the next level? And really, what did you do at that point in time when you were trying to kind of get over that hump? And how did you finally figure out a way to get that ball into the back of the net as a team?
So back during that stretch, it was really frustrating, and I think the problem was that we put too much pressure on ourselves because we felt like we're better than this, we need to be scoring goals. And so to fix that, we just kind of needed to take a step back and just breathe for a second. And I think we all came together as a team and were like, okay, we can do this. So going forward, our goal now is to play to potential. And if we do that, we're going to have fun and be successful, and that's all we want.
That's all it takes sometimes. And then Riley, for you, not a lot of turmoil this year, not too many hardships. You only lost 1 game all year, and that was to a Woodinville team out of conference who some feel is the favorite to win the 4A state championship this year. And you guys played them tough too. Takeaways from that game: did you guys learn anything about yourselves playing against a tough team like that, and maybe playing a tough non-conference schedule? How does that help you get ready and prepared for playoff time?
Well, we went into the season knowing our non-conference schedule is tough. Jackson's got Daniel Arias. Kentwood's got the leading passer in the state for 4A, I think. And then Woodinville's Woodinville, right? So we came out of those 3 non-conference games 2-1. That Woodinville game, we lost 24-7, but we were only down 7-0 at halftime, right? And considering that's one of the best teams in 4A, that's an accomplishment. And we were able to punch the ball in the end zone at the end, but we realized our defense is really good. Our offense definitely needed work, which, our offense is still a work in progress. We would have liked to put up more points last week, and this week we have a huge test. But we definitely learned a lot about ourselves as a team in that Woodinville game.
Definitely. So now heading into the weekend again, busy time for the Chappelle family. What does it look like in terms of when you look up into the stands? Do we have a lot of aunts, uncles, cousins who? How many family members are going to be busy going from Edmonds Stadium to Seattle Memorial this weekend?
We have lots of family members coming from everywhere. We have great aunts and grandparents and aunts and uncles who even have kids at Edmonds-Woodway coming out and watching soccer, even though, like Kelly Jackson, he's on the football team, but my aunt and uncle are always at the soccer games, and so they're coming from everywhere, both sides of the family.
So a lot to do for the Chappelles this weekend, a lot to do for the Edmonds-Woodway fan base in general. Hopefully, Riley, do you think we're going to have a big crowd down there at Seattle Memorial?
I hope so. But big crowd or not, we still have to play Eastside, right?
Absolutely. So again, football team against Eastside Catholic, 7:45 start time Friday night, Seattle Memorial Stadium. And then we turn around Saturday, soccer playing Mercer Island, 3 p.m. over at Edmonds Stadium. So we hope to see as many of you out there as possible. Go Warriors, right?
Yeah,
Go Warriors.
See if the Chappelles can keep playing into next week. We'll find out.
Always great to see those siblings supportive of each other. And what a year Edmonds-Woodway has had with their sports.
Yeah, it's across the board, right? It's
Yeah.
been just a huge fall for them, and it doesn't just stop at football and soccer, too. Cross country, the big cross country state tournament took place over in Pasco last Saturday. boys and girls doing very well. The boys finishing 4th in state as a team. Mentioned a few of their runners. Diago Peraza finished 21st overall. Dylan Hartano 26th. Lucas LaCambria 27th. Jacob Wilcox 42nd. And Grant Christian 48th. All 5 of them combined formed the team score, which gave them a 4th place finish. So 48th doesn't sound great, but when you think about the entire state and you're the 5th place runner on your own team, outstanding job for them. And then we have to focus our attention on the girls, 3 in particular, who just had an outstanding, not only week, but a season for that matter, all finishing in the top 5 at the state level. Yukino Parle, 2nd place finish. 2nd time she's done that in 3 years. She also did that as a sophomore 2 years ago. And then we have Olivia Meter-Yetter, only a junior. She finished in 4th place. Sounds like a broken record here, but she also finished 4th place 2 years ago as a freshman. And then Stephanie Robleski, who finished 66th, I think it was, 2 years ago when she was a freshman. She elevates herself up into 5th place. So outstanding weekend for all 3 of them. We bring all 3 of them in together into the studio to talk about not only the weekend, but the season as a whole. Here are 3 of the top 5 runners in the state of Washington at the 3A level, and here to talk about their big week over in Pasco. The cross-country state championships took place over in Pasco this weekend. And with us right now, 3 Edmonds-Woodway runners, all who finished in the top 5 in the state. Yukino Parle sitting in the middle, took 2nd place. Olivia Meter-Yetter right next to me, 4th place. And Stephanie Robleski, almost messed it up, she took 5th place. So ladies, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations, 3 runners from the same school in the top 5. That is quite the accomplishment. Is it something you had all kind of aspired or talked about as a team throughout the course of the year, Olivia?
I mean, yeah, it was kind of a goal we had in mind for the whole year, and it was hard when Steph got sick. We were kind of like, oh, is she going to come back? And she really came back with a vengeance, so that was really cool to see.
Miss Robleski, want to make sure we get that right one more time. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, for you to finish 5th place when you weren't feeling good midway through the season, that's got to be a heck of an accomplishment. In your wildest dreams, when you were heading over to Pasco this weekend, could you have imagined that you would be able to finish that strong, knowing what you went through?
I wasn't horribly sick in the middle of the season. It just really threw me off for a good week of training, and then coming back mentally was the hard part, I would say. So I think going into Pasco, I was just really nervous about how I would do, and so no, I don't think I would have imagined finishing 5th.
And Yuki, for you, I know you've got a state championship in the 3200 during the spring at track and field. 2nd place 2 years ago, when you were a sophomore over at the track meet or at the cross country meet. Disappointed that you didn't get that state title? I mean, how does it feel right now? 2nd place for most of us, we would be elated, but for you, what was it like going away with 2nd place?
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed because I really wanted that win, but I knew we had some really good competition, so I ran my best. I ran as hard as I could, so I'm satisfied with that.
So let's have a little fun and talk about the race itself right now. It's a 5K race, correct? Mm-hmm. What was the race like for each of you? And Yuki, maybe I'll start with you. You lose to Erin Hill by 4 seconds. She's from Spokane, North Central High School. A little bit different when you're running against somebody from across the state. I would imagine you don't know her quite as well, right? Do you focus on tendencies, or is it more about racing your own race out there?
I tend to focus on what other people do to try to maybe make predictions on what would happen. But since I've only raced her once or twice, it was a little hard to figure out what she would do. And I knew in the past she's really made jumps from her regular season times to her state times. So I knew even if her times weren't as impressive during the season, that she would really be able to drop it. So I knew she was someone to watch out for. You finished 4 seconds behind her. Was there a moment in the race where maybe you still thought you had a chance to win it, or at what point do you sort of recognize that, well, she's got just enough of a gap on me to where I'm probably going to take 2nd? Yeah, so around the 2.5 mile mark, she made a move, and I didn't really see it until she was a pretty good distance ahead. And then at that point, I knew it was a little bit too late, but I did try to catch up. But I didn't have enough space. So. And
Olivia, for you, I think you finished 9 seconds behind 3rd place, and I think you were 8 or 9 seconds ahead of Stephanie for 5th. Mm-hmm. When you're racing in a race like that, and there's that much of a gap, is it a little bit strange? I mean, do you feel like it's harder to get a push at that point? I know whenever you can kind of run as a pack, it always makes it a little easier, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good pack up until about the 2.4 mile mark, 2.5 mile mark, and then we started to separate, and I kind of lost focus a little bit, and so it just kind of spread out after that, and there was a point where I kind of settled in my head, which I shouldn't have done, and that might have helped me get one more spot if I hadn't have settled, but she ran a good race, and I just didn't have as good of a race that day as she did.
And Stephanie, when we look at the times, you finished 5th. There were 3 North Central teammates directly behind you that all finished, I think, 0.2 of a second behind you. So you were oh so close to maybe even finishing 8th or 9th. Did you know they were running right there with you? What was that experience like at the end of the race?
There was a 4th girl among the 3 North Central girls, and that was the girl I knew was there. And I'd been running with her pretty much the whole race. We'd been running by ourselves, so I thought, until afterwards when I turned around and realized that there had been 3 more girls on the team that was ranked ahead of us. Right there. I had no idea.
So at that point, were you a little bit just relieved that you were able to stay in the top 5? I mean, what's that experience like when you get to the finish line and you're looking over your shoulder and there's 3 of them right there on your heels?
It was kind of terrifying, honestly, and I don't know. I feel really lucky to have finished where I did, and it's also a strange feeling because you think, well, I could have been 9th too. So we were all within 0.4 of a second from each other.
Very good. And we should point out, too, this is the 3rd consecutive year that the Edmonds-Woodway team, and they take the top 5 finishes, the top 5 times, the team has finished in 2nd place at state for the 3rd consecutive year. North Central really kind of, no pun intended, running away with it with some of their times. 4 girls finishing in the top 8. So really it wasn't even that close. But 2 years ago, you finished 1 point away from winning it. Does it make it a little easier knowing that it, maybe 2 years ago, was there a little more of a sting knowing that you were oh so close? Or when it's like this, Olivia, does it really even matter?
I mean, honestly, it didn't, because our coach came up to us not that long after the race, and he was like, gosh, you guys, you got 2nd again, or something. I don't even know what he said. He was just like, man, but it was just kind of, you know what, everyone did a pretty good job, so we were pretty satisfied with it, most of us.
And between the boys and girls, I think, what, like 15 runners total? Does that sound about right, give or take?
Yeah, and the varsity race, 14, right? For 7 girls.
Is it 7 girls, 7 boys?
Yeah.
So on a trip like this, I mean, again, Pasco's a ways away. It's a long bus ride to and from. I know it's a business trip, so to speak, but do you allow yourselves to have a little fun? What is a trip? Stephanie, you're shaking your head yes right away. What is that trip like for all of you? And how loose is the team when you're heading over there?
We're all focused, obviously, on running the biggest race of some of our running seasons, but at the same time we're having fun, and we mix up who's in which van, and we all hang out and we just spend the time together, and it's a lot of fun before the race.
And I know there were 10 races that day, 5 boys races, 5 girls, all different classifications. Where was your race in regards to when it started? Was it one of the earlier races? Was it later?
Ours was, I think, second to last out of the girls. We had, it goes from 1A to 4A, so we were towards the end, and so we got to watch some of the earlier races, and yeah, it was pretty interesting.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing, though? I mean, would you rather run earlier and just get it out of the way, or Olivia, what's it like knowing that the anticipation kind of keeps building and building?
I mean, I think I didn't really pay attention that much to the races that were happening before us, so I didn't think it was, and I think because we've all been to state before, it wasn't as big of a deal, so we weren't as nervous when watching the other races probably. But it is interesting to see what other teams can do, so you kind of have a benchmark for yourself sometimes.
Very nice. I know we've talked about this in the past, too. The boys finished 4th, so we should give them their props, too. Is there a friendly rivalry there? Is everybody kind of encouraging with one another? What is it like as a team, not only as the girls, but also just the girls and boys together in general? What's that chemistry like for this team?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a really big rivalry or anything. We all support each other, and we all make sure we're all loose and having fun all the time. So, because I think if we didn't, I mean, running cross country is really hard. So I think without that kind of loose environment, I think we'd all probably, I don't know if we'd make it.
And speaking of environment and how that works together, and maybe Stephanie, you can tell me about this a little too, because I'm curious, on just about 95% of the other high schools in the state, you would be the top runner on the team. And on this particular team, you're 3rd, yet you finished 5th in state. Does it make it, I mean, is it a little frustrating at times? Would you like to kind of maybe be the top dog? Or in some ways, I've got to think that maybe having the 3 of you together, though, probably helps you get a little faster and be able to train a little bit easier, too. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure. If I wasn't on the team with these 2, I would definitely not be 5th in the state. So I completely owe my success to the team and having such dedicated training partners, and also for the rest of my team. I think it's sometimes really challenging to see like how well that they're doing, because they see the three of us finishing in the top 5 and go, well, why not me? And sometimes that's really hard. So I think we all kind of struggle with that at different points in the season, but it's super fun. We all train together, so it's awesome.
Well, and Yuki and Olivia, I've got to think for the two of you, it probably helps you as well, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
for
I
sure.
mean, having
Yeah.
I mean, if you were out there running by yourself every day and nobody to compete with, does it make you a better runner, Olivia?
I definitely think so. It's Yuki's just like, she just goes out and she competes hard every single race, and you know that she's gonna put out a really good effort, and so she's really, really a good one to go after. And I think without her we'd go crazy, but also if she didn't have us, she'd run with the guys every day and she would just totally die.
Yeah, I think I would push myself way too hard without these two like keeping me in control.
Yeah.
So when you look back now and you've had a chance to reflect for a few days, what has the season meant to you as a whole? I mean, obviously 2nd, 4th, and 5th at state. We should also mention you finished 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at districts, which involves 14 other schools. So top 3 runners from all 14 schools combined right here at the stable. Do you have any favorite, other than state, we've already talked about Pasco a little bit, favorite moments from the year? I know Yuki, you beat Taylor Rowe a couple of times at
Yeah.
Twilight and Hole in the Wall, 2 of the bigger events of the year. Is it fair to say that those maybe are a couple of your highlights of the season?
Yeah, I think my highlight probably was Twilight Invitational, because that was really when I first made like my big jump into like the 17s for 5K, and I think that was a really surprising race because I didn't expect to even get anywhere near that. So that was really cool for me. Yeah.
Olivia, what about you? What are
I think Twilight too. I mean, it was just a good group of girls. We all wanted to see what we could do, and Yuki just lit it up. And it was just a really fun race for everyone. I think all of our teammates PR'd, almost all of them.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
Yeah, so it was a really good race for everyone.
Okay, and
So.
Stephanie, that was during the time where you weren't feeling so good, is that right? So did you run Twilight at all or no?
No, I didn't even get to go, and for me that was really sad to not get to see Yuki and Olivia run some of the fastest times, well, the fastest times of their lives, and the rest of my team. So that was a tough one to miss for sure, but it was awesome, and I got to watch videos later.
So outside of Pasco and running at the state championships, maybe what was one of or two of your favorite moments this year?
I think overall just spending time with the team at practices, it was just super fun.
Very nice. By the way, tell me about the pumpkin.
I mean,
You have a team pumpkin, is that right?
yeah. When did that start? My freshman year,
That
or
started,
did it start
yeah,
before that?
That started when Grady was around. He
Bought
us a pumpkin after one of our races,
Yeah.
and we
That's
all
Grady Oakson, is that?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we all signed it, and we brought it up to the podium whenever we went up, and so it kind of became a thing. And now every year we have a pumpkin that we buy partway through the season. We all sign it. Sometimes we write notes and we bring it up to the podium and we take pictures with it, and it's pretty cool.
So the pumpkin is well traveled, and I understand there were some new hats this year too for the state meet. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, 2 of our newcomers that are actually sophomores, they decided they were going to pull the trigger on buying hats on Amazon right
Yep.
before state, and it came in right before we went to state, and we thought, you know what, we're gonna run with it. Nope,
Yeah.
I guess pun intended. I don't know, but they're really awesome bucket hats.
Yeah.
Very nice. And now I should mention also that 3 of you are not done running yet. You're going to be running obviously in the spring for the track team, but you've all qualified for the Border Clash by finishing in the top 15 at state. You get to go down to Beaverton, Oregon, and I guess you're going to be running at the Nike headquarters themselves. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so with top 15 runners from Washington and I guess the top 15 from Oregon, is that how big of a deal is that?
It's pretty cool. It's actually the top 15 from 3A, but then like each division has a certain number of girls that go, and so it's a pretty good sized meet, and it's really cool because we get gear, and there's it's a pretty unusual race. We start out with like each state on opposite sides, and it starts with a cannon, and then we all like run towards each other, and it's pretty cool. It's something I don't think a lot of people in high school get to experience something like that. So.
Wow, very nice. So that's coming up again November 18th, so not too far away on a Saturday. And then I know, I guess we should talk about it, Yuki, a big day for you. We're recording on Wednesday night. Letter of Intent Day.
Yeah.
Boise State University. You're going to be a Bronco next year and running for them. Congratulations. What does that mean to you?
It's actually really exciting. I don't think I really expected to run in college. Like, if you asked me that when I was in my freshman year, I probably would have said, what? Like, I don't know. So it's pretty cool. I never expected to be here. So.
And did I hear a little rumor? Did you have who was your host when you were?
Malia, yeah.
Malia Pivic from Linwood High School. Yep. So you'll be teamed up with her again.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, Olivia, you're both juniors, obviously having very successful careers. Can you see yourself running in college? And if so, have you started looking yet? I know you both have some time still, so we're not pushing you, but any thoughts given to that yet?
I mean, yeah, I've been thinking about it. I guess sort of it'll come in bursts, I guess. I'll think about it a lot, and then I'll just totally forget, and then I realize that I have more to life than just high school. So then I start thinking about it a little bit, but I know it's really important, so I need to start working on it.
And Stephanie, are you giving that any thought yet, or are you going to give that some time still?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I have not written it off, and I'm not fully sure I want that yet. So.
Very good. And I understand also, are the two of you going to be running in a meet over in Boise this weekend? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's Nike Cross Regionals, so it's a lot of the teams in the Northwest.
Okay, so perhaps you can start Olivia on the path to looking into Boise State.
Yeah,
while you're over there. And one final question. Again, you're all three running this spring for the track team. Is there such a thing as an off season at this point? After you're done with the border clash on November 18th, do you allow yourselves a little time off, or is it staying out there and getting the miles in and getting ready for track?
Yeah, we take about a week off, and then we get right back into training.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much across the board, Stephanie? Yes. Is that for you as well?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll give them that week off. Again, all three of them finishing in the top 5 at state. Huge weekend for all of you, and we're hoping that you're not done having huge weekends. So Boise for Olivia and Yuki this weekend, and then all three of you going down to the border clash. So ladies, again, congratulations on what has been an outstanding season. And oh, by the way, one last thing before you go. All season long, or all year long, we have been doing the Action Jackson Plumbing Player of the Week. We've been giving out t-shirts, and all three of you have won at various times. So, Yukino, we're going to give you one for, this was actually given to you when you won Twilight and when you won the Hole in the Wall. So there's your shirt. Olivia, we presented you with one for your performance at Districts a couple weeks ago.
Okay, cool.
And then Stephanie, for your 5th place finish, we have a shirt for you as well. So we'll have all three of you hold up those shirts. Again, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Action Jackson Plumbing, for those. Very well-deserved, in this case. All three of the top runners in the entire state, and they all go to Edmonds-Woodway. So, again, Yukino, Stephanie, Olivia, thank you very much for being here, and congratulations on an outstanding season.
Thank you so much.
I'm really impressed by how those ladies can enjoy running so much. I mean, you know, you run, and I have run in the past, although not in recent years, but I never really found it like something I would want to do on purpose for any amount of time. And they just seem to really enjoy it.
Well, I think when you're able to run that well, too, it probably makes it a little more enjoyable. And they don't have to run for as long of a period of time because they're fast. So
sure.
Perhaps that makes it a little bit easier, right?
Good
You're able to
point.
get from the start to the finish quicker, and all three of them extremely fast. So really nice to see them after this season. We've been following them all year long, and kind of figured that we would kind of wrap up the interviews for cross country after the year was over, knowing that all three of them were going to do exceptionally well at state, and they did. So no big surprises there. I do want to mention a few other names though while we're at it. For Mount Lake Terrace, they competed at the 2A level. On the boys' side of things, Jaden Lofreese finished in 9th place individually, so nice finish for him in the top 10. Alex Williams finished in 34th. And then for Mount Lake Terrace on the girls' side, Joan Park, who was in studio this year, she took 12th place. And then Marika Jamtos finished in 54th place. A few other runners we also want to give a shout out to. On the boys' side of things at the 3A level, we already mentioned all 5 of the Edmonds-Woodway runners. Colin Connectal from Meadowdale, he took 52nd place overall. And then on the girls' side of things, Brooke Schroeder from Linwood, 60th. Alyssa Hershey from Edmonds-Woodway, 68th. And Kaylin Rust also had a nice finish. So a lot going on over in Pasco, and so many great runners coming out of South Snohomish County. And just really nice to be able to look down those lists of names and see so many of our local athletes.
That's right. You should all be proud. So
Absolutely.
Congratulations. Well, and a big weekend coming up for the Warriors.
Big weekend coming up for the Warriors with football and soccer. Big weekend coming up for swimming, too, we might add.
Yes, that's right.
Over at Federal Way, the aquatic center there, state championships taking place. I know we have a number of swimmers from the Edmonds School District that are going to be participating. Friday and Saturday, those events are going on. So we're hoping that by the end of the weekend when we do our next show, we can get some of those reports in, and really hoping for a few podium finishers among our local swimmers too. So stay tuned for that. Again, just a quick reminder too, Friday night, 7:45 p.m. is the start time over at Seattle Memorial Stadium. Edmonds-Woodway football taking on Eastside Catholic. The very next day, 3 p.m., Saturday, Edmonds Stadium, girls soccer team taking on Mercer Island. So stay tuned. A lot going on right now for the Warriors.
Yeah, go to both games if you want. Why not?
Go to both games, and maybe, who knows, later on that night, catch a swimming meet.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of everything this weekend. So
It'll be fun. Take the family. All right. Well, we will be back with you later in the week, early next week, and give you an update, and thanks for joining us.